Okay, in this tutorial, I'm going to show you how to create language islands using the topics and the questions from the list that's included in the course. There are actually two lists of topics with questions. One of them is the intermediate one, that's this one, and then there's another one which is the advanced one. We'll do that in another video. Let's start with this one. And again, the language islands, before anything else, you should do the basics. Basics being introducing yourself, talking about yourself a little bit, your hobbies, your work, where you're from, really basic situations, things like that, and also situations that you will find yourself in your daily life. You should prepare sentences for those first, maybe 50 to 100 sentences, so that you can get going already with that. But once we've done that, we want to actually have a conversation, a little bit more than just ordering things, introducing yourself, and you know, a little bit more than small talk, an actual conversation. So for that, we'll use this. So in this list, we've got 20, I think the 29 topics, 20 something topics. Um, and each one of them has a list of questions. This is one about hobbies. So, what are your hobbies? Why do you like your hobbies so much? How often do you do these hobbies? Etc. And you could do the easy thing and give it a one line answer. I always had this, this, and this. I like it because whatever. I do it 3 times a week, and that's it. You could do that, or you could talk about each one of your hobbies and then answer all these questions about each one of those hobbies specifically. Because obviously, if there are 4 or 5 things you like doing, the answers to each one of them are not going to be the same, right? So, for example, I didn't start uh, learning languages and boxing the same time period. That was different times of my life when different times of my life when I start doing them, and I do them for different reasons as well. I do both still, but uh, and same for like these are my answers, right? So these are the questions that you'll receive, and this is the exercise already done. So I'll show you what exactly I did everywhere. So basically, at first we need to answer all the questions in English. This is very basic. So I got like 40-ish sentences. It's line 40, 48, but we've got 6 lines of questions plus gaps here. It's like almost 40 uh, sentences in the answers, which is already a decent amount. This will give you some material to work with in conversation. So first I answer, what are your hobbies? And I like doing this, I like doing that. I don't say I like reading, learning languages, traveling, sports, blah blah. I don't list them. I say I like this, I like that, and you could even go further and one step further. And um, I like this, I really like that, I love this. You could use. I did this really quickly and in a very simple way, but you could make it more elaborate so that then you learn more vocabulary that way. Yeah. So first all the hobbies. Then why do you like them? I know. Okay. Yeah, I guess I forgot this question. How often do you do these hobbies? I answered that the third one straight away. Yeah, I read a lot every day. I learn languages every day. Again, you shouldn't say I do this, that, and that, and that every day. No, like create a sentence for each one of them, for each one of the hobbies, so that then you can, if the initial basics conversation develops in a certain direction, you've got a couple sentences from here, maybe one or two from here, maybe none or one from here and then two or three from the rest that you can use, not just one thing that one size fits all for everything that then it'd be kind of weird to use, right? So learn sentences specifically for each one of the hobbies. And another way of doing this would be to answer all the questions about one of the hobbies. Yeah, so like 10 or 20 lines about reading, 10 or 20 lines about learning languages, 10 or 20 lines about traveling, and answer all the questions and everything else that comes to your mind. You just dump it there. Yeah, so we write as much as we can. What's good about your hobbies, what's bad about them, which hobbies you used to do. I don't play video games anymore because it's a waste of time, blah, 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 blah. Okay, then this is when magic starts happening. We'll copy this and paste it in Google Translate. And then this is Arabic. We'll paste the translation here. In this case, if you're learning a language that uses a different script, that's very different, write it phonetically at first. Learn the language phonetically. Learn to understand and speak it before you learn to read and write. Like you did in your native language. You didn't learn to read and write before you learn to uh, understand spoken language and to speak, because that'd be stupid. You can't read Arabic, even if you know the sounds each letter makes. You can't read it if you don't know the words, right? So first learn the words, then read, then learn how to read the sounds. Anyway, we've got it phonetically here, so we'll learn it like this. And if you read it, obviously it's not going to be 100% accurate like this, but we can also generate audio. I use Link for this, but you can also use other types of software. And this is really, really, really important, because if you generate audio and you create a playlist with different, so one about hobbies, a little bit, this will be like a couple of minutes, and then one about your work, and it'll be another couple of minutes of worth of sentences. You keep adding a language island or two a day to the list, and you binge listen to them while you go for a walk, for a run, while working out, while you do stuff at home, and so on. And this way, if you're also reading this, you memorize everything very quickly. So, what you should do with the text is you should already be listening to it. Listen to it as much as you can. First, it'll be just gibberish. It doesn't matter, keep listening to it. And then you should read each sentence in English and then in the language that you're learning. Yeah? Why do you like your hobby so much? Limado tu yawada hiwaya tik kathira. This is a lot, so much. Uh, this is like a lot of, yeah, I'm making sense of it, but it takes time. But even if you butcher it at first, you read it, the whole thing. Don't read the whole thing in English and then the whole thing in the language you're learning. Read each sentence first in English, then in the language. First in English, then in the language. Daily. And do this with each and every new language island you create. And listen to them on repeat. And in a few days, you realize that when you're listening, you know what it means. Yeah. If you want to accelerate the process, you could also apply the associations technique and memorize a lot of vocabulary from here, um, associating them. So if okay, let's yeah, the software is traveling, for example. So let's associate that with traveling. Riada is sports. Let's associate that with sports. Find a word that sounds like this in English. Visualize sports. Visualize that other word. Make some sort of story. Make it visual. It'll probably stick, especially if you are listening to the sentences over and over again. But again, listening to them over and over again is super important. So do it, please do it, and then reading them as often as you can. That's why speed reading is important, because if you are a trained speed reader, you can skim through this whole thing really fast. And if it's the first time you're reading it, you won't remember anything. But if you've associated the words and you're also listening to it, you will process the information way faster when you're speed reading, because it's something you've seen before, even if you don't remember everything. So it'll, it'll be a useful way of reviewing it very quickly. Yeah. So long story short, write everything down as much as you can, translate, paste it here phonetically. Don't worry about the writing system if you're learning Russian or Chinese or Arabic or whatever. We'll deal with that once you can understand and speak. Paste the translation, read both over and over again. Generate audio, listen to it over and over again. Memorize vocabulary with associations. Uh, and once you start to get decent at it, read it aloud over and over again. Just these sentences, not the English part, obviously. And finally, once you think you are pretty good, you should look at this and try to say everything in the language that you're learning without looking at this. So, what are your hobbies? I have no idea how to say it in Arabic, but I would try. And if I'm not sure, check it, say it correctly. What do you like? I try to say that, then check if I say correctly. And I do the whole thing till the end. And then the next day I try again. And if you've done all the previous steps, you will be able to say most of it correctly very quickly in a few days. Follow all these steps, and you'll memorize a few hundred useful sentences in a matter of days. And if they're good sentences, they're relevant, this, and if you keep doing more and more, because you will always have blind spots, things you didn't prepare for. But once you have one of those situations you didn't prepare for, when you get home, you can prepare for it. So the next time you have the same scenario, you are prepared for it. This on its own will help you get conversational very quickly, very, very quickly. You should combine it with all the other exercises, lots of listening to podcasts, things like that, lots of reading to get good at the language in general. But if you want to get conversational super fast, this is what you should do.